morning.
So this is the June Cooking Club. Thank you guys for coming. I'm really excited for this theme. We have Steve Roberts, he's an alumni, and very adventurous in the kitchen. So he offered to do a cooking demo for an Indian recipe, and he chose to do chana masala biryani. So he's gonna show us a couple of techniques too on how to cook without oil, so especially when it comes to spices and flavors, and the Instant Pot tutorial. So this will be a lot of fun. I do have a cookbook up here called Plant-Based India. So if you like to make any Indian recipes at home, this is all plant-based, and there are some notes on cooking without oil as well, if you're heart healthy. So feel free to take a look at that after the demo. So I'll turn it over to Steve.
Thank you.
Yes.
With today's theme being Indian food, I've always loved Indian food, but I've always been a consumer. I love the sauces, I love the complex spices, but the thoughts of cooking it, it was just a little bit more than I thought I could handle. Then I came across a couple of inspirations using an Instant Pot, making one pot Indian food, and I fell in love. So today we're going to show you the one pot Instant Pot chana masala biryani. Now, what that is in Hindi, it means chickpea curry with rice. So it's that simple. If you want to just call it chickpea curry with rice, that's fine. So one of the things that I discovered in my adventures is that a lot of times spices need to be bloomed. And traditionally, what you do to bloom them is either ghee, which is clarified butter and slightly browned clarified butter, or some sort of oil. So how do you clarify or bloom a spice without oils? Well, I found out through some experimentation that low sodium vegetable broth does amazingly well as long as you get it hot before you begin. So what I've got here is some low sodium vegetable broth, and I'm just going to use a tablespoon or two, and that's enough to actually bloom the spices. And so we're going to let that heat up, and it's on and heating up now, and you're going to see me do a little smoke and mirrors today just for the sake of time. So you may not hear the sizzles, you may not see the onions brown, because we're trying to do this in a shorter amount of time than what it takes. So with that said, once that comes up to temp and it's just beginning to bubble now and heat up, I'm going to take a teaspoon of cumin seeds, and I'm going to put that in here, and let me get my spatula or I'll be in trouble later while that's still warming up. So I'm going to put that in there. We're going to just kind of get that in the vegetable broth, and in about 30 seconds you'll start to smell the seed release its flavors, and that's enough. All we've got to do is just let that go. I just make sure it doesn't stick, and we're good. Once that has bloomed, and that's good, I can smell that now. I've got one large onion, thinly sliced. This is about 1.5 cups. So I'm going to put that in, and I've got 2 jalapeno peppers here, but in the samples that I finished out, I used serranos. Depends on how much heat you want. Because my wife is kind of a wimp when it comes to capsaicin, I deseeded, and it's going to be a lot milder. So we're going to put that in, and we're good to go. Now you're going to just caramelize the onions, and it takes about 10 to 12 minutes. We're not going to wait that long for good tea. but you'll see it come in. Now, one of the biggest challenges I had is cooking without oils. The onions start to caramelize and they start sticking to the bottom of the pot. We start developing that brown. Well, the easy thing to deglaze the pot, 1 tablespoon of vegetable broth. All you gotta do is just put that in and that releases off the bottom. Just take your spatula and scrape that and it cleans it right up. So you don't have to worry about it sticking, which is one of the big challenges with non-oil cooking. We're gonna let that go for 10 or 12 minutes and through the miracle of time compression that it's been that long now. And so the next thing we're gonna add is a garlic and ginger paste. Now I took ginger, just grated about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch of ginger. I minced 3 cloves of garlic and then took a fork, mashed that up a little bit, and I still wasn't happy with the consistency, so I took it back my chef's knife and just made a paste out of it. So we're gonna add that and stir that in. Just make sure that it's kind of mixed in with the onions and the peppers. Smelling good already.
Oh, it's blooming real good.
And so then once that is done, we can then add, I've got here 2 small Roma tomatoes diced. However, 1 large is plenty, but I like the Roma flavor better than say beefsteak or some of the other options for at least for this recipe. So I'm gonna put that in because a marsala typically is a northern, it's a Punjabi dish that is northern India, and it's marsala means tomato and onion curry. So in curry, my wife, whenever I mentioned the word curry, she would just absolutely shudder and say, you know, step out. She did not like curry because her idea of what a curry was the yellow bottle that you get from the grocery store that everybody uses way too much of, and it just blows your palate out the first taste. Well, that's not what curry is. Curry in Hindi means sauce or gravy. Now, I was raised in a town that was 80% first generation Italian. And whenever the grandmas would make spaghetti sauce, they never called it spaghetti sauce, they called it gravy. It was the sauce they put on to the pasta. Well, and just like that, curry is just a sauce and gravy. And there are lots of different ways to make it. Some are spicy, some are not. But basically, it's a combination of spices that go to create and flavor your gravy. Every area has a different recipe. It's sort of like going to Mexico and asking about mole. Every family has a different mole recipe. Well, every family, every region has a different recipe or combination of spices for their curry as well. So what we're going to do is, since we've started the tomatoes cooking, I'm going to add some of the spices that we've got here. We're going to start with a 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric. Put that in. Going to go with a 2 teaspoons of garam masala. Going to add 2 teaspoons of coriander powder. All sorts of good flavorful spices. 1 tablespoon of ground cumin. And Kashmiri red chili. Now, I have not been able to find it in the store. So you can approximate it by mixing a teaspoon of paprika and a quarter of a teaspoon of cayenne. Now, you don't want to use smoked paprika. I found that changed the flavor quite a bit. Paprika was a little bland, but I found that the hot Hungarian paprika really did it. It rounded out the flavor, it added a little bit of heat, and so we were good to go. We're just gonna stir that, make sure everything is coated. And then we're gonna add, and I'm using canned chickpeas here that have been drained and rinsed and drained. If you want to, you can use 3/4 of a cup of dried and soak them overnight, and that works. But it's easier to use the canned, and I haven't noticed a taste difference. So got that in there, and I'm adding 1.5 cups of vegetable broth. And that's all we need to do to get ready for the curry. We take stir it up, make sure it's all mixed, ready to go. And we're gonna start our Instant Pot, turn it off of saute mode. Right direction. There we go. Take it off of saute mode, put it on pressure cooker, set it for 30 to 35 minutes, and just wait. It's been 30 to 35 minutes. And we have a wonderful curry left over. I don't know if you can see that, but it makes for a wonderful curry that we're good to go. There's only one more.
Do you mind if I just-
Sure.
Thanks. Photo op, sorry.
Yeah. Thank you. So once we've done that, we're going to add our rice. Now, one of the second hacks or changes I've made to make this Ornish friendly is instead of using the traditional basmati rice, I'm using brown rice. And I soaked that for about 30 minutes while I was cooking everything else. I just put it in a cup of brown rice and put it in water, let that soak. And so I've got that right here. Now, there are two ways of doing this traditionally. The Punjabi area way of doing it is to just put the rice in and stir it in, and it all mixes in together. I gotta think Hyderabad, down in the south. So this is sort of an Indian fusion recipe because we've got a northern technique and a southern technique. The Hyderabad method is to layer it in. So we're just gonna take and layer this rice right on top of the curry. And that's going in and just sitting right on top. Now, what you need to do is add a little bit more of your vegetable broth, and all you want to do is just cover the rice. So it may be at most another 1/4 of a cup. Just make sure that the rice is below the surface of the liquid, and then we're ready for the last ingredient, which is a 1/2 cup of cilantro. Again, my wife here is throwing her wrench into the mix because she's got the cilantro gene. And everything tastes like soap that has cilantro. So instead of cilantro, I've got chopped parsley. So I've got a 1/2 cup of chopped parsley, it's a good substitute, and a 1/2 cup of chopped mint. And we're just going, I like to just mix it together. We're going to just then sprinkle that over the top. We're not gonna be eating this one, so I'll just use my fingers. Just layer it over the top. And another traditional step to this recipe that I've modified is that normally you would soak some saffron in water and pour that over the rice. And with the basmati, that gives it that beautiful yellow flick color, but it doesn't do a lot for the flavor with the brown rice. So what I've done is I've just let that step off. It's still in the recipe is available for you, but we're good to go. At this point, I turn the pressure cooker back on, set it for 6 minutes, and we're off and running. After,
Watch out, it's on.
yeah, there we go. By the way, if you are salt restricted, you don't need salt for this. But if you want to add a little salt when you're sauteing the onions, it does help bring out some of the moisture. It helps keep it from sticking. After your 6 minutes, we're all done. And the end result is a wonderful rice chickpea dish, lots of flavor, depending on how you choose to use the peppers. It can have a lot of flavor or just a little flavor. But here is the end result. We've got a nice sauce with, and I just put a little parsley on the top for a garnish. You could also cut a couple peppers and put that on the top. But that's our dish. Chana Marsala Ariani. Any questions?
Looks beautiful, doesn't it?
That's great.
Smells great too.
And we've got we got plenty here. So.
Yeah, we can start the samples. Does anyone have any questions?
What if you don't have an Instant Pot?
You can use a pressure cooker if you have one, and it's same timing. And if not, you can cook it on the stovetop. Just takes a long time, like in a Dutch oven. A Dutch oven works really well. I've done one in a Dutch oven just to see how it would work. I doubled the times,
Okay.
and use your visual cues with that.
So a manual pressure cooker or a Dutch oven on the stove if you don't have an Instant Pot. Or John had a question?
That was it.
Oh, that was it? Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Good job. All right,
Well,
well,
thank you very much.
yes.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Thank you, Steve. That was great.